Hey, welcome to Sipper Social Club. I'm Jeremy, and today I'm counting down my top 5 discontinued Scotch whiskies. Now, these are scotches that were part of a distillery's regular release, and for whatever reason, they have stopped producing them. They've been completely discontinued, and it is a shame because these are exceptional whiskeys. I also have a few honorable mentions and a couple bottles that I hope don't fall into this category. Let's get at it. Alright, starting off with number 5, it's one we all know and love, the Old Pulteney 17-year-old. This one, along with the 21, were both discontinued late 2018, replaced with a 15 and 18-year-old in the core range. What makes this whiskey so good is the balance of flavors, the really nice fruit, baked goods, the coastal elements, the sweet honeys, rich chocolate in there, really like complex barley and cereal notes. Really kind of made this just a really delicious, high viscosity pour, very unique in character, and like absolutely phenomenal stuff. The new core range, you know, the 15s and the 18s, the 18 especially, very different in character. Rob and I did a complete rundown of the new range along with the old ones. Compare and contrast the new stuff, the old stuff. We found that, you know, the 15 wasn't that standoutish, and the 18 very different in character from what you're getting for the 17 and the 21. A lot of people prefer the old 17 over the old 21. I'm in agreement. I think this is one of the greatest bottles for the price at the time. You know, you're finding this for around $100 or so. You could not go wrong with that price. It's sad to see this one go, but luckily I do have the backup. Old Pulteney, great distillery. Hopefully they can revitalize what they had in this bottle in future releases of the 15 and 18. But right now, cannot top this one. Alright, coming in at number 4, a bottle that I reviewed actually pretty recently. It's the Balvenie 15-year-old single barrel ex-bourbons. These ones were discontinued in 2012, replaced by the sherry cask in 2014. This bottle really kind of shines that Balvenie characteristic, that house style honeys and vanillas. They are exceptional in this bottle. That really brings through a lot of that character elements, and what really Balvenie distillate is all about, that sweet honeys, those really rich vanillas, the cereal, the graininess, they all come through in these bottles, and it really kind of showcases all of that with Balvenie. You know what, these could potentially come back. I don't see why there's any reason why they couldn't release an ex-bourbon, a single barrel 15-year-old. It's not like the ex-bourbon barrels are harder to source than the sherries. I think we could see a potential comeback of this to all of its glory. If you tried this one before, you definitely know what I'm talking about. Exceptional stuff, and hopefully we do see it back on the shelf sometime soon. Alright, before moving on to number 3, how about a couple honorable mentions? Let's go with the Balblair, the whole line of the vintages. I used to love how kind of Balblair set themselves apart from the rest of the pack. With all these kind of vintages, it was really kind of a cool thing. Now, of course, they've gone to typical age statements in an attempt, I guess, to charge more money or make their consumer less confused as to how old their whiskeys are, because, you know, math. Always kind of a cool thing, you know, being able to find your birth year vintage and, you know, comparing and contrasting different years from the distillery. Always thought it was a really cool thing that Balblair did with those, and now, unfortunately, all that's gone away to the wayside to the typical age statement stuff. But I would love to see more distilleries kind of do that thing with Balblair and just do vintages. I thought it was really cool. Alright, another honorable mention, a whiskey that seems to have been discontinued forever, yet you can still always find it on the shelf. It's the Highland Park 15-year-old. Really nice addition to the core range, really good step between the 12 and the 18. I love this whiskey. Unfortunately, I guess it's been officially discontinued. You can still find them here and there. Up to a couple years ago, they were kind of still everywhere. Mostly in the US market. But I always kind of found that this one, more so than 12, had a little more sherry influence to it. Really kind of a different profile as far as the whole Highland Park range was concerned. So yeah, the discontinued whiskey that keeps on giving, the Highland Park 15. And now lastly, my final honorable mention, a whiskey that kind of marked almost kind of end of an era as far as I'm concerned for Bowmore. It's the Bowmore Laphroaig 15-year-old. They did 4 batches of this one being discontinued in 2014. Really kind of this and the Devil's Cask really kind of highlighted like a heavily sherried, high ABV expression from Bowmore. And since those two expressions have been discontinued, you know, Bowmore hasn't really had that many exciting whiskeys in their you know, core range of stuff. A lot of people find the Bowmore profile nowadays a little lackluster. It's kind of almost the forgotten Isla when you're talking about the bigger distilleries there. These, you know, sherry bombs of whiskeys were so good back in the day and very well priced at retail. Now, Bowmore stuff just not as interesting as it used to be. So wish that they would come back with something big, bold, big age statement, big ABV from Bowmore. Hopefully that comes back soon. All right, next up in my top 5 discontinued scotches is the Glendronach 15-year-old. Now you might be saying to yourself, this isn't discontinued, they still release this. Yes, they do, but not the same. The older revivals use exclusive Oloroso sherry casks. The new ones, combination of Oloroso and PX, not quite the same. Of course, these older ones bottled above their age. When the distillery was closed for 6 years, they weren't producing whiskey. They had to go to older stocks when releasing this stuff. It made for delicious, delicious whiskey. Not saying that they have to go back to that, but you look at Glendronach now, and they've made a decision to start chill filtering their whiskeys, trying to make a push into bigger markets where chill filtered whiskey is preferred. Mistake, in my opinion, as well as the rest of the whiskey community. The last of the old revivals were discontinued in 2016, rebranded, remixed, and brought out in 2019. You can see with the packaging, they do include PX and Oloroso now. Not quite the same, still a decent whiskey, but nothing like these old ones. It's unfortunate when a distillery goes from, you know, being one of the best to, you know, diminishing their brand, but it is what it is. So the old revival, number 3 on my list. All right, number 2 on my list is a bottle I absolutely love. It actually won my video on what's the best 18-year-old Scotch whiskey. It's the Laphroaig 18-year-old. This was discontinued in 2016. Coincidentally, the same year that they released the non-age statement lore. I'm pretty confident in saying that this is my favorite style of Laphroaig. It ages that heavy peat just enough and brings it down to release all these other flavors, the complexity, the balance between the smoke, that heavy Laphroaig, medicinal, with all the fruit characteristics that come out of this. It's just in perfect harmony, in my opinion. They bottled it at 48% ABV, which was absolutely perfect. It made for just an exceptional whiskey. Very sad to see it go. Hopefully Laphroaig can reclaim the age statement of this and bring it back to its full glory, because it was so good. All right, the number 1 whiskey in my top 5 discontinued scotches is the old Macallan Cask Strength. This is an educational bottle on what the hell happened to Macallan, because the quality that these were delivering blows away what you're getting at a Macallan now. I was fortunate enough to drink a newer version of Macallan 25-year-old and compared it to an old Cask Strength, and guess what? The Cask Strength beat it out. The richness, the complexity, the Macallan distillery signature, all way better in these older bottlings. To think that these were on the shelf for around like less than $100, you know, 10 years ago, it's just mind-blowing. They used to come out with a 10-year-old age statement. That was discontinued and converted to an NAS. This was eventually altogether discontinued in 2014. A lot of people thought that the classic cut that was released in 2017 would be a replacement to this. I did a review comparing the both of them. No comparison. The old Cask Strength definitely blows it out of the water. This bottle, well shared with the Patreons. Although, a really good friend of the show, Robin, really nice to offer a sample of the old Macallan Cask Strength 10-year-old. That's what I have in my glass right now. This is just exceptional stuff, and it takes you to, I guess, like a time when Macallan was just at the top of their game, when they had all these great casks and they were releasing really good whiskey at a high ABV. And something that you don't get anymore from them unless you're spending the big dollars to get their really good stuff. Their core range, in my opinion, has slipped hugely, and this is actual proof of it. Just the richness, there's the nuttiness, the dried red fruits, the plums, the figs, that Macallan orange house style characteristic, like the tannins. I think that's the big thing too, is like the tannic sherry that you get in Macallan. It's just so well integrated and so well done in these old Cask Strengths. and the power and the oomph that these things deliver on the palate is just so good. I mean, the viscosity is out of control. The finish goes on forever, and I think that's where you really appreciate this, is the finish lasts and lasts and lasts, and it keeps delivering explosions of, you know, that gooey sherry, the figs, the plums, that cooked down fruit, the jammy notes, the chocolate, the orange, the citrus, the oak. The oak is really nice in this, very subtle, creamy. I mean, you can't say enough good things about that. So Robin, thank you so much for the sample. Very much appreciated. So that's my list. Also, I have a couple whiskeys I want to get to that I hope don't fall on a list like this in the future. So, really quick, Highland Park 10-year-old. Only bottled at 40% ABV, but honestly, I like this one more than the 12. Only available in a couple markets, Canada, UK. It doesn't come into the US for whatever reason. A little bit more peat in this one. More complex than the 12, in my opinion. I do like it a lot. I've heard rumors that they're going to discontinue it. They have so much NES stuff in their core range right now. I hope this one doesn't go by the wayside because it is delicious. It's very well priced. It's a great everyday drinker. It's great for beginners. It's great for anyone who loves whiskey, really. I think the balance, the Highland Park character really shines through, and you get some more of that Heather style peat, which I really like. Really like this bottle a lot. Hopefully it doesn't go by the wayside. A newcomer to the game, Kilkerran 8-year-old, the Sherry Oloroso heavily charred cask. I hope they can keep banging this one out. It's not an every year release. It seems like maybe every other or so, but I hope they keep doing it, and I hope the quality stays up there. The first release, so good. The second release, I think I only scored it like a half point less or so. Love it. It's a really dirty, grimy kind of sherry cask. It's really in your face, but you got to be in the mood for it. But when you are, it's absolutely delicious. Hopefully this one keeps sticking around. And lastly, let's go outside the Scotch world. Let's go for an Irish whiskey. I've heard the rumors that the Redbreast 12 cask strength might be losing its age statement. I really hope it doesn't. This is one of the best buys in Irish whiskey, in my opinion. The Oloroso cask they use for this, exceptional. You know, it brings that Irish style to someone who's not big in Irish whiskey. Would absolutely love this. No matter what kind of whiskey drinker you are, the Redbreast 12 cask strength is a pleaser for all. Let me know what you think. What whiskey have I left off my list? What's a whiskey, in your opinion, that's been discontinued that you wish was not? And what's a whiskey that you have in your collection right now that you hope does not get discontinued in the future? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. If you like the content on this channel, you want to support a little bit more, check out my Patreon. The link's down below. You can join some tiers, potentially win some amazing samples like my Patreons have done in the past. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Really much appreciated. Cheers.